Hey guys, in this video I want to address a question or a suggestion. When I did the 90 plus hits per second Galvanic Arrow build, a lot of people asked why I didn't do poison. So I want to talk about and explain why I didn't do poison and if it's even a good idea, because it does sound cool, 90 hits per second. Imagine how many poisons you can apply, imagine the degen. Okay, so let's take a look. So if I were to... I was a raider, right? If I were to convert that raider into poison build, I did minimal amount of minimal amount of required changes. So I changed passives a bit. I got enough chance to poison. I changed the quiver into like pretty amazing quiver with chaos damage over time multiplier, poison damage, and basically using Valkyrie guidance gloves because that allows my cold damage to poison, and this is mostly cold damage build since I'm using Here's Ire to get insane amount of flat cold damage to both attacks. So the gloves themselves allows your cold damage to poison, but the drawback is Galvanic Arrow is lightning skill, so I don't get that extra 20% chance to poison on hit. But despite that, I still got 100% chance to poison. Got Corralitos, changed the auras. Actually did not change hatred into malevolence because it's actually the same poison damage per second, but may as well just hit harder with initial hits while having hatred. Got the Herald of Agony instead of Herald of Ice because I needed more chance to poison. The hit chance is kind of alright, 96. This is not a crit. I'm gonna show assassin version as well. Also changed, got Wither Totems. Got the Spare Curse instead of Frostbite. And on the Galvanic Arrow had to use Deadly Ailments, well, because that's the biggest multiplier for damage over time. Basically only changed one thing from Ice Bite into Deadly Ailments, because well, that's already 6 link, and those are the best supports, and you have to use Barrage, and LE damage already gives a lot of damage, and Inspiration is kind of needed as well to reduce the insane mana cost. So with those changes, I did a lot of calculations. The passive skill tree could be tweaked a bit. Couple more items can be changed, like rings with ailment damage, but that's not going to be groundbreaking changes. So with those changes, my poison damage is 2.7 thousand poison DPS. That's per poison. Poison damage per second, not during duration. Because the Valkyrie guidance cuts the poison duration, well, in half. And the poison in this case lasts 2 seconds. That's with some increased poison duration scaling already. Otherwise it would be like 1 second, yeah. So it lasts 2 seconds. And this is not assassin, so I cannot stack like insane amount of poisons to increase their duration. So duration is only gonna be 2 seconds. So it doesn't matter for how long I stack, as long as I attack for 1 second, I will be having like a proper damage or damage per second basically. So the damage would be, I would be doing 7.69 attacks per second, and that would end up being 92 hits per second. So you basically multiply that by the poison DPS and you get 250k DPS with poison, and will last for 2 seconds. That's nothing. That's 1/4, 1/3 of my damage without the poison. That is of course not counting the DPS from initial hits, which would also be like, I don't know, I haven't actually calculated, but 400k maybe at most. So you would be dealing like still lower damage than the non-poison build. So now let's jump into assassin version, because it's gonna be completely different numbers at least, and of course the passive skill tree would be different. The first thing, assassin is gonna be slower, much slower. So actually I did a lot of calculations as well, and I will be attacking only 5.12 attacks per second, down from 7.69. So it's quite a bit slower, more than 2 attacks slower per second, same amount of projectiles. That ends up being around 61 hits per second, down from 92. So that's already pretty massive hits per second loss. but the poison damage per second is much higher. So the poison damage is 4.2 thousand, which would end up being around 261,000 DPS, which is still low. However, with Assassin you can stack the poison duration, and the poison duration would be currently, if you apply 244 poison stacks, and this is poisons applied recently. Recently means over the last 4 seconds. So you cannot apply them infinitely, stack them infinitely. So it caps out at 244 poisons, because you cannot apply more than that, because the math is 61 hits times 4 seconds. 61 hits per second times 4 seconds, so you end up with 244 hits per second, hits over 4 seconds, which means you cannot apply more than that poisons. You could, I guess, use like a Mirage Archer or something else like secondary to apply, but that not really gonna change much. So DPS damage per second would still be pretty low. However, you could stack 244 poisons over 4 seconds, and that way you would increase the poison duration because of Assassin. So your poisons would last 13.9 seconds. Where is it? 13.93 seconds. But you would have to basically face tank the boss and do nothing else but just face tank for 4 seconds with a bit less life, and while all the flask would be up and all the other buffs would be up. So it's not really realistic to be able to face tank with 5.5k life. Of course, I do have insane amount of life gain on hit, at least per second. So the poisons would, after 4 seconds, you would ramp up poisons, and they would be dealing around 1 million damage per second, and that would last almost 14 seconds. So for the next 14 seconds, it would deal 14 million damage. While 14 million may sound like a lot, but think about it. 14 million is nothing, and that requires you to wait 14 seconds. And that's not really very accurate, because some poisons will deal will have shorter duration than the others, unless you would just constantly attack for like, I don't know, 10 seconds non-stop. Then each poison would have like similar duration, and that would end up dealing 14 million damage. So it doesn't look that great when you think about it. 1 million DPS if you can face tank the boss for 4 seconds and then run around for 14 seconds to deal 14 million damage, and then still you would still need to do like 5 times more. So it would take you like 1 minute to kill the boss, at least, if you could just face tank, ideally without the boss trying to kill you. So as you can see, the numbers don't look that great. If you convert into poison, like I said, you could like min-max a bit more, get a bit better jewels and stuff like that, but it's not gonna be game changing, and not gonna change the build that much. Yeah, I have everything enabled. The poisons on the enemy doesn't matter, it doesn't scale above 9, so it doesn't matter how much you enter, 9 is enough in here. It's good. This is Assassin with power charges and crit, using the perfect agony. You don't need to take it if you rely on correlators, because I use correlators in here. Increases the poison duration as well. So there you go. And that's why I did not go with poison. Because I couldn't just convert into Assassin from Raider, and Raider would be a lot worse. It could feel like it's cool to see a degen, but the degen would be so small and barely noticeable that it's not really worth doing. So there you go. I hope you understand why you can't just enable poison and expect it to deal good damage, because, well, even if you can stack lots of poisons per second, you're still gonna deal small amount of poison damage per second per poison. So you're not gonna be able to stack big damage. I still kind of want to play some other, like a proper poison build, so I may do some kind of poison build in the future as Assassin again. But for now I'm playing Ground Slam, and I finally crafted the explosive body armor, so that's a lot of fun. So the next video will be about the stun locking Ground Slam with the explosive body armor, which by the way has pretty cool visuals. So yeah, for now, thank you for watching, and I will see you pretty soon. Bye bye.